Welcome back to Streets and Eats. This is episode 124, and eventually we're going to be talking about all the cool places that we've stayed, unique places in Europe that we've really, really enjoyed. And I got to be honest, it's not something that we really set out to do. It just sort of is serendipitous, so that makes it a little bit better. But right now, I just kind of wanted to touch on something.
Okay.
We haven't really been doing, we had said we were going to do, and we didn't, video podcasting. But I think we're going to try and delve back into it. We'll see how long it lasts.
Sure.
Hey, it go with the flow, right? So if you're here looking at us, welcome. Just know we've always got bad hair days. We're a little older. And, we're not here to look pretty and cute. We're here to tell you what traveling the real story is and how much fun it is to do and how you can keep a partner for a long, 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 long time.
40 years.
If you travel with them. I was going to tell them that, but okay.
Well, we don't look like spring chickens.
Oh, they could guess 40 years, I guess. Anyway, so today Jim has got the trivia question, and he's going to ask me, and I think I'm far, far, far ahead of him as far as answering questions. Yeah. So we'll see if he can stump me today.
And I'll be surprised if you don't get this question correct.
You're supposed to make it hard. Go ahead.
But there's bonus points for additional questions.
Oh, bonus points.
And I might trip you up on the bonus
I'm
questions.
competitive.
Okay. So we're talking about unique stays in Europe this time around, but we've had lots of unique stays. So I focused my trivia question on interesting hotels.
Around the world or in Europe specifically? Oh, around the world. Okay.
Okay, so where do you think the most expensive hotel is?
The Maldives.
Oh, you are wrong.
I mean,
I thought for sure you'd be like, pop.
United States?
Nope.
Dubai?
Oh, yeah. Took you three, but you got there.
But I wasn't even thinking of the Burj what's it called? The Burj?
Okay, so then the next question is, which hotel is it and how much?
The Burj.
It is not the Burj. The Burj is like in the top, but is not the most expensive.
Well, I know that the folks in Dubai are constantly building new and improved hotels. And so I probably don't know the newest one they've had, but I remember them doing something about like this really high eagle type shape thing. What's the name of it?
Okay, so at $100,000 a night.
Oh, hey. Maybe that should be our next anniversary. Not.
The Royal Mansion at Atlantis, the Royal in Dubai. It's the most expensive hotel room in the world. It's the standard suite at $100,000 a night. It's standard. It's vast with 4 bedrooms, living and dining rooms, a bar, and a 2-floor office.
This is for one night.
Yeah, for one night. And you can connect that to 16 other rooms. So if you want to have a big party, you want to have your family reunion there.
I mean, if someone's willing to pay for it, I'll go, but I don't think I'm paying for that.
But you're right. The Burj is way up there too.
Yeah.
But this one tops.
And that's probably more well known just because it's such an iconic view of Dubai.
Right. That sail structure.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful.
And it is
out
pretty.
On the water.
I mean, we've seen it. I don't think we've even
been
walked
on the
into
beach
it.
right in front of it.
We didn't go inside though.
No.
No, we didn't even go inside. Jim and I, our travel philosophy is more that we spend money on activities,
experiences.
The
hotel is usually kind of
secondary
we want to be
or
tertiary.
We
need to be clean.
We want clean, comfortable, and we don't honestly. Well, we don't want to spend $100,000, but we don't even want to spend anywhere near that because, I mean, we feel like we should spend our money where we're going to remember things.
That's right.
In saying that, and like I kind of preluded to, we don't really necessarily plan on going someplace special that's a stay. Like we're not big on luxury hotels or resorts, or not that we haven't done any of that.
We certainly have.
Probably done a little bit of everything, but that's not our go-to way of traveling. What I do like, and I think I think I can speak for both of us, is that we like something that's unique, different, somewhat adventurous, in nature if possible. That's more kind of our vibe and what we're interested in.
Right. Given an option, we'll look for those things. But more often than not, they're kind of hard to find, especially when you're going to a destination. Now, we have definitely sought out places where the unique stay is the destination. And we've done that around the world, and we've always done that because, we both really love that sort of thing.
I don't think we've done it a lot. I think we're more apt to seek out maybe transportation or cooking lessons in people's homes.
Right.
Or, I just don't think hotels accommodation is really our top tier thing that we're really looking at.
It's definitely not.
At the same token, if there is something cool that we stumble across and it's affordable and it looks like fun, we're fun people.
Yeah,
we
want to do it. So we've done this all around the world.
So we have done it all around the world. I would say putting the title in Europe really limits us because probably some of our much more exciting ones have not been in Europe.
That might be true. But if we sat here and talked about all the ones we've been in, we've stayed in, we'd probably be here for an hour, 2 hours.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
So it made sense to limit it.
It does.
But like in Japan, we stayed in this really cool ryokan, which is an old Japanese style inn, rice paper walls, wooden floors, all that stuff, called Aoni, that has never had electricity. You have to take a snowcat into the mountains to get to it.
It's pretty
and it's
cool.
Magical because everything's lit with gas lamps, and it was just incredible.
Yeah. It's one of those, it's definitely a place I would consider as a destination.
Yeah, there's nothing else there. You're in the middle of the mountains.
Exactly.
Right.
So there, and the other place that really sticks out in my mind, and we stayed in quite a few of these, was when we did our trip to Mongolia. We did a road trip in the backcountry for 9 days, I believe, in these old Russian vans, which are way cool. And we went from nomadic yurt to nomadic yurt to nomadic yurt, and we stayed with the families. And that was like...
That was super
beyond cool. That was really, really
Except
fun.
for the very last one where they didn't have enough beds for our whole party.
Right.
And I had to sleep on the floor.
When he says he had to sleep on the floor, I offered to let him sleep in my bed, but he wanted to sleep on the floor. They were tiny beds.
It was not a 2-person bed. And when I say floor, I mean dirt.
Dirt. He means
with
dirt.
A rug covering it.
Yeah. So we've stayed in some pretty adventurous places, to say the least.
Yeah.
But we're going to just talk about some of the cooler ones that we've stayed in Europe. And we will tell you whether we kind of planned it or if it was more happenstance or whatever. But when we're searching for things to do, like I said, hotels are not the thing that's the most important to us. So we're not necessarily searching for these things out. But anyway,
we're usually going to a place that has interesting sights, experiences that we want to do, and we'll find a hotel that's there.
Yeah.
But sometimes we will, like the ryokan, we will search out something like that where that is where we're going, and we're going to enjoy it.
Well, and in that case, we heard about that word of mouth from a friend of ours who had been there previously and actually went with us on this trip as well. And so that's an added benefit too, when you're talking about going someplace and someone's like, oh, well, if you go, then, I read about this place or I went to this place. That always holds a little sway with us.
Sure.
We're
for sure.
That makes it a little bit more interesting. So we might do that.
Okay. So we've got 10 in
10
Europe
or 11
that I'm not going to put them in any particular order. It'd be hard to pick one favorite over another because they're all so different. Mm-hmm. And they all had different amenities, different reasons why we went there. So we won't do that. We'll just list the 10. And if there's time, maybe we can try and pick a favorite at the end or something. If there's time.
If there's time.
Okay, so the first one on the list is...
Which I think is a very popular one.
Yeah. And we say unique, but if you go here, you have lots of options that are very similar.
That's right.
But our favorite, and let me back up a little bit.
Yeah.
We're talking Turkey And we're talking Cappadocia.
Okay, so Jim and I lived in Turkey for 4 years together. We were teaching there, and we lived in Ankara, and Cappadocia was only a 4-hour drive, which is really nothing. And so we would go to Cappadocia. I think we went 2 or 3 times per year. So we've been there many times. And the advantage of going someplace, as many of you know, over and over again, is you get to know the people there.
Yeah.
So like we have a favorite restaurant that we always go because Mehmet was so much fun and we love going to visit him. And we have our favorite little places that we stop. And then this ended up happening with this cave hotel that we're going to tell you about called the Traveler's Cave Hotel. We've stayed in many cave hotels. Pretty much every time you go, you're going to stay in a cave hotel. Some are nicer than others. Some are more expensive than others. And all of them include breakfast, and all of them have cave walls, and all of them have pretty good views.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter which one you stay in because you're going to have fun. You're going to enjoy yourself anyway. But tell them a little bit about it. Some of the cool things that you like.
Okay, so Cappadocia, if you're not familiar with it, is a really spectacular geological area in the middle of Turkey where the entire region was covered in volcanic ash and dust and whatever. Not really lava.
They call it tufa, right?
Tufa. It's a very, very soft stone that's easily carved in. And when it's exposed to the air, it hardens. So throughout history, the region has been used for underground cities, cave chapels and churches. Really incredible stuff. And of course, in modern day, you can still dig into stone and you can make caves and you can carve rooms. And that's what these hotels have done. They've carved out rooms into the sides of the mountain and decorated them in really, really beautiful Turkish style.
Like, those Turkish reds and the sort of the kilim or the Turkish carpet kind of vibe. And what do you call that? Kind of bohemian, I guess, in a way. And then they have all these pewter dishes, like, your
copper dishes.
And copper dishes. Yeah, copper dishes that you use to splash your face and or pour your water or whatever. They're just very, very well put out. And the people, of course, live there. The people who own the hotels live there.
Yeah.
And so you get to know locals because they'll sit and chat with you at breakfast or in the evening or whatever. It's really, really nice.
Yeah. So our favorite is the Traveler's Cave Hotel. And there's actually, they own 2 different hotels. One of them is more of a hostel. And the rooms are all carved all the way into the tufa. That's a little bit like maybe a 2-star place. Still really, really nice. The people are super friendly.
Cheaper
Great
than
breakfast.
A lot of places.
It's a little bit cheaper, yeah. But you're all the way in a cave when you're staying there. Now, the Traveler's Cave Hotel, it's built kind of more like a hybrid, where part of the room is a stone building connected to the cave, and then you have the cave inside for like the bathroom and a sitting area. And that one's super cool. That's my favorite one. They've got this really excellent breakfast room that's up above. You have to climb some stairs from whichever room you're in. And from there, you're looking out over Goreme and towards the area where the balloons launch. So you're there eating breakfast I say breakfast in the morning. It depends what time of year you're there because the balloons go up at sunrise. So if you're there in the middle of summer, you have to get there before breakfast and just have some tea and watch the balloons. It's magical. But they have an excellent breakfast. And of course, they have all the amenities where they can offer you tours and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, it's one of our favorite places to go. We love Cappadocia. We love Turkey in general. We just love it.
Yeah.
So that's one of our first ones.
The second one is a place where you can stay in a monastery in Guadalupe, Spain, in the Extremadura region. It's called
the Extremadura region is a must-go place.
Oh, yeah.
It's where they have the best pig, the best pata de negra, right? Which is the Blackfoot pig, jamon, that is so good. And you will see the pigs everywhere snuffling for their acorns.
Yeah.
And it's just a really, really beautiful area of Spain. So we went there, and we signed up to stay in this monastery. We didn't really know what we were getting ourselves into, but it was stunning.
Yeah, it's an ancient monastery. It's got an incredible museum attached to it. And you're actually staying in the rooms of the monastery.
Yeah, so all kind of Spanish architecture has like the courtyard idea where you have the balcony and you're looking over. So we stayed in one of those rooms. So pretty. And what was really neat is that you get, as part of your stay, you get to go through the museum for no added cost and when nobody else is there. And we went into the chapel when no one else is there. They did schedule a wedding shoot during one of the closing hours, which was really cool because we were allowed to be there during and it was kind of special, super special, because I mean, who doesn't love looking at people getting wedding pictures done? They're so pretty and romantic, and it was such a romantic place anyway. And so that
beautiful
was kind of a little added bonus to us. We enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Everything about it, the food was good. The town as cute as can be. Literally everything. We just felt like, just serendipitously, like I said, we just sort of happened to have this extremely sort of quiet and charming and
very serene,
peaceful stay.
Yeah.
In just beautiful surroundings. And so I that's one of my top wins. Like, I always mention that when people ask me where I should go.
Now, I will say that Guadalupe is not by itself really a destination. So we were definitely going there to stay in the monastery. And that was the destination. Like you said, it's a cute little town. And there was a little market going on. But
not a whole lot of sights.
Not really
general.
someplace you're going to go and stay in a different hotel, because there's just no reason to be there otherwise.
But if you're going to be in the area, which you should be in that area because it's beautiful.
And it's worth making a special trip.
It really is.
To the monastery.
Is. Okay, so the next one is, I mean, these are all our favorites. So, but you just start remembering all the good stuff.
That's why I said we could never do a top 10. Which one's number one?
They're all our favorites for different reasons.
Yeah.
This one is in France, and we have a couple. And in fact, with that couple, we've probably stayed at 2 or 3 of these places.
Right.
Because this couple that are good friends of ours, named Lisa and Peter, you'll probably hear about them. We've traveled to over 25 countries with them.
Yeah.
So we've done a lot with them. And we don't do tours. We're doing it all on our own. So we always find adventures. And one of the things we did for a few years is we would go to France at the end of the school year, because we're all teachers. Most of us are retired now. And we would rent a gîte for a week in an area, and we'd explore the area from that gîte. So we'd stay there for a whole week, which I just think is kind of nice, because it's like a little bit of slow travel and relaxing travel, but at the same time, we're still seeing things. So the first time we did this, we went to the Loire Valley, which, as you know, is packed full of these amazing castles.
Yeah.
Just beautiful castles everywhere.
Chateaus, vineyards, excellent food everywhere you go. We had such a good time there.
Oh, wonderful. And we were looking at the Gîte website, and we found this, there's tons of them. I mean, you really have to look at them closely. But we found this little tiny cottage, just enough for 4 people. Had a huge, talk about the fireplace.
Well, it's this
fireplace.
Old stone cottage, just in a beautiful little setting. And it's old. I mean, this was an 18th century stone cottage. It's been there a long time. Of course, they've kept it up and modernized the inside a little bit. Not a whole lot. It was comfortable. But one whole wall, one of the side walls, was fireplace.
Like the entire wall. It was probably, 6 feet long?
Yeah.
And 6 or 8 feet tall.
Yeah.
Jim did walk inside.
You could walk in it.
And so we
it
had
still
a fire
functions.
every night because, I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah. That was a really fun stay. And like you said, we would just get up in the morning, pick a direction to drive around the valley, find a really good lunch, try some wine, find out where that wine came from, go to that vineyard, do some tastings, buy some wine, bring it back to the cottage, make our own dinner.
The whole week was just so French.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I wanted to say is, a lot of people stay in Airbnbs. Well, and they're great. We've stayed in plenty of them too. But the French sort of equivalent, or even maybe I would say a step up, is called the Gîte organization. And what I love about the Gîtes, and this has happened to every single one that we've rented, is that you get to at least meet. I wouldn't say you get to know them. They don't spend a lot of time with you. They're not like in your business or anything. But at the same time, when we went to this one in the Loire Valley, the very first one we ever did, this little old man comes in and we're sitting in the garden. Jim is actually painting a picture of the lilacs in the garden because it was just so gorgeous. And so that made the guy's day, and he brings us a bottle of wine,
that's right.
And he sits and chats for a little while. And then we wanted to make some soup one night, so Lisa and I had to go over and try and borrow some flour from the next door neighbor. I mean, to me, those are the memories that really make something even more special. So the building, the accommodation was special.
Yeah.
But the entire experience surrounding that made it even that much more special.
Yeah. Okay. So this was a place where the stay itself wasn't necessarily the destination.
Oh, it definitely wasn't.
But it was a big part of the destination.
It just ended up being, and for us, probably one of the most memorable parts of the vacation. And that's saying something.
Because we did a lot on that trip.
I mean, there was a lot of castles and chateaus and things to see. And yet, if we talk about it, we're going to talk about our stay because it was that special. So anyway, that was pretty cool.
That was a really good one. Another one we did fairly recently in the Netherlands, and that was Fort Vurig, which is an old World War I part of the waterline defense system in the Netherlands.
Which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Yeah. Which this defensive system covers a wide swath of land throughout the Netherlands that can be flooded to a depth of like 3 feet. Yeah, because at that time that would stop any military advancement. So it made like this huge moat that ran almost like probably half the length of the Netherlands.
Well, and certainly it was part of the defenses of Amsterdam for sure. And the whole idea of this 3.5 amount of water that they could flood it with was it was too deep for people to really cross by foot. It was going to really bog down human traffic if you were trying to cross it without any help. And then for vehicles, it was too deep for vehicles. So, but it didn't have to be that deep. And it's just very interesting the way they talk about it and the whole idea behind it. Now, like Jim said, that was more of a World War I thing.
Yeah.
But it's well worth going to. And this was an example of where we were going to the accommodation.
For the accommodation.
Like we wanted to stay in this fort. It looks super cool. And, the Dutch, if you know anything about Dutch architecture, it's a lot of brick. So the fort is all made out of brick. It's a round fort. There's like what do you call that? A
center passageway around central. It was probably like the powder room or something like that. And so there's this whole series of forts along the line. And Fort Vurig is one that's been converted into a hotel. A
really beautiful hotel.
So you're staying in rooms that were maybe officers' quarters or storage rooms, and they've all been converted. They have
a little kitchenette. They have bedrooms.
Yeah, beautiful furnishings. And it's all brickwork everywhere, inside and out. And it's just,
it's stunning.
It's stunningly beautiful. And it is set in like a park-like area next to the river. And it's just a great place to get out and walk around. It's got a great restaurant.
Yeah, I was going to say, in the United States, we don't really seek out hotels that have restaurants attached to them. But in Europe, a lot of times, they really spend a lot of effort making sure that the restaurant for their hotel is going to be a good one. And in this case, that is definitely what they did. They have local foods there. Every day the menu changes. It's a kind of a funky little restaurant. It doesn't maybe it's got kind of like a 1970s hippie vibe, kind of.
Yeah, it was very. You used the word bohemian earlier.
Yeah,
Hippie,
yeah.
bohemian.
Where
That definitely fits.
It doesn't really have the whole necessarily military fort feel.
Right.
It has more of a, let's let our hair down and smoke weed type of feel.
But they don't.
Well, they might have. We don't know. We didn't have anything to do with that. But anyway, it was fun. The food was good. It's right there. So we did go there as the destination, and then the next day we went on to other parts. And
we had a really good breakfast there too.
It had a good breakfast. It's just a really pretty place, and we walked around the fort, and we walked around the area, the river. There is, if we had gone a different time of the year, there is a ferry that goes across to one of the castles that you could take. Anyway, it was exactly what we wanted it to be, and it was just to sort of get away,
super cool,
see something, stay someplace really interesting and cool, and enjoy ourselves. And we did. We went with my sister.
Yeah, we had a really good weekend.
All right, so the next one is probably the quirkiest one.
Maybe, yeah.
That's on our list. And we did book it, not necessarily for the stay, but for the place that we were going to. We were traveling in England, and one of the most beautiful national parks is the
Lake District.
Lake District. And we had never been before, and so we really wanted to go. And we were kind of looking for a little bit of a different stay. We kind of wanted to stay on a farm because, it's known for its sheep and sheep herding. And we that was our goal, was to stay on a farm. So
we found this place that had 2 caravans that you could book, and you stay at kind of off in a field next to the farmhouse. So you're not really part of the farmhouse, but it's nearby if you need anything. And how they got these caravans, they were huge.
To where they were.
Through these hedgerow, narrow little lanes. I mean, maybe they brought them in by a helicopter. I don't know. But it was a really comfortable stay.
It was comfortable, but I mean, it was quirky. It's a mobile home kind of idea.
Right.
So, many people have stayed in those. And the actual, I wouldn't say that the actual caravan itself had a whole lot of pizzazz. But again, it was where it was. Like Jim said, we had to drive down this tiny, I'm going to say just wide enough for one car road.
Occasional
with
pull-outs.
These hedgerows that were a good 12 feet high. And, hedgerows are thick.
Mm-hmm.
And so you would have to really pay attention to what's coming ahead of you and pull out beforehand. And then we're on the farm where we had dirty clothes.
Yeah.
And the farmer was like, well, let me just wash. We're like, we don't want you to wash our clothes.
We just want to know where a laundromat is.
But she washed our clothes
We'll take
for
it into
us.
town.
There was no
She
Wi-Fi. We had to go steal the Wi-Fi from the clinic in the town that was close by. And the cat was a welcoming person too and decided that he liked us.
Yeah.
So he brought us a gift the very first morning, a nice dead mouse for our breakfast if we got hungry, along with the farmer's wife who brought us her homemade cake and everything else. And while we were there, they were doing the haying. So we got to watch a little bit of the haying. It was just, it's quirky. It was cheap.
It was super memorable.
Super fun. And, very serendipitous. We didn't really, we weren't going there
for
to
that.
Stay in a caravan.
We were going to the Lake District because it's a beautiful place. Yeah, but that worked out really good, and it was an incredible stay. Okay, you're probably wondering why we haven't mentioned any stays in castles.
Mainly because most of them are too expensive.
Yeah.
We're not willing to spend
Or they're kind of maybe kitschy.
Well, I think we have been looking for castle stays, and probably we will by the next update.
There are some very good ones for sure.
We will stay in some, and we'll let you know which ones would be good. But to find ones that we're interested in is a little bit difficult because we're not interested in a hotel room.
Yeah.
We can go to any town and stay in a hotel room. If we're going to a castle,
we want to be in a castle.
We want to feel like we're in a castle.
Right.
We want to see castle-y things. Like when we were in the monastery in Spain, it felt like a monastery. The beds were definitely monastery beds. You knew that it was authentic. It was It was not where because of course, they have to make money. And of course, people like luxury. We are not as much into luxury as we are into uniqueness.
Well, the experience.
And the experience, yeah.
So on this one trip to France, Erica found a chateau that had a
right
moat,
outside of Paris.
Right outside of Paris. Beautiful setting. I mean, just incredible. And it was a chateau with the rooms of the chateau that had been furnished for hotels.
I would say this is probably one of the most luxurious ones that we've stayed in.
Sure.
This was much more luxury than Jim and I normally
Gourmet
would choose.
restaurant.
Yeah.
Just beautiful furnishings, paintings, all that stuff.
The bathtub was
Oh, yeah.
stunning.
Decadent.
Just really decadent. There were beavers in the river that we could watch, and the whole surrounding area was gorgeous where the castle grounds were and everything.
Okay, so that was the Chateau Hermenonville.
Hermenonville. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Starts with the E. But we'll put all this in the trip.
You
notes,
park the
of
car
course.
and you get out, and you just see the chateau surrounded by a moat in park-like setting with gardens. Just stunning. Mm-hmm. And you're like, I'm staying there? Wow.
Yeah. So that was a really nice one. And it was a French one. And it felt like French royalty. It definitely had the whole velveteen wallpaper and all that kind of thing. So it was really neat.
And it was definitely the destination. We used it as like a stop in between places.
Well, we were actually coming home, I think. It was on our way home. So it was sort of our last hoorah on our road trip to Normandy.
I don't think you'd really go to Hermenonville for any other reason other than to tour that chateau or stay in the chateau.
Yeah. It's not that far from Paris, but you still would have to make an effort to get there.
Yeah, it's not someplace you could like base yourself for a Paris trip for sure. It's too far.
And you wouldn't want to anyway. I think there would be much better places to pick for a Paris trip. But if you want a chateau experience, I think it was well worth it. And if you're going to the Paris region, then you're close by. So it's really a good choice. Along the same lines is another one in Turkey that we went to. And Jim and I were having a little discussion about this, trying to remember exactly where it was. So I don't know if everybody has the same memory of what Mesopotamia is supposed to be. But when you're growing up, you learn that Mesopotamia is this plain.
Right.
And the plain is spectacular, and that when you see this plain from this land from the cliff, that you are going to be awestruck.
Spread out in front of you.
Yeah, it is.
It's awesome.
It's amazing. It's more than we ever expected it would actually be. It was just, how you grew up thinking something, and then it's like there's no way it can be what I'm imagining it to be.
But it like fits the picture in your head.
Exactly.
So we're on this road trip around Turkey, into eastern Turkey, and we went to Mardin. And Mardin is this town that's built up on the side of it's a very large hill, small mountain maybe. And from there,
it's huge.
The Mesopotamia plain starts. So from up in the town, you're looking out over this vast, vast land of River Valley, the cradle of life. And it's awe-inspiring.
Spectacular. It's just spectacular. And the whole town of Mardin is cool too, because it's on the side of this mountain, and it's just all wound in and out, and it's again made of stone, and it's very yellow and very pretty. So we're in this area, and this time we did choose the hotel for the hotel.
Yeah.
It was in Savour, which is actually about an hour north of Mardin. It was as we were leaving. We were on our way to Diyarbakir. And there was a manor house there. And in fact, they have, this town is known for the manor houses. Right. And there's lots of them. The one that we stayed in is still a hotel, but it's not taking reservations right now. We don't know why. Maybe they'll open it up in the future. But it's one of about 10 or 12 that you can stay in. And these manor houses are these old Ottoman houses that have this gorgeous furniture and these gorgeous views, and they serve you dinner right there on site. And it's kind of like the French chateau idea, except nothing quite as
Right.
as decadent as
And it's a
different.
It's a single family stay. They don't usually have multiple rooms. So you're there.
They have a couple rooms usually.
They might, yeah. Well, that's true because there was 2 of us there. So it's not a hotel by any means. It is a manor house. And so we stayed there with Peter and Lisa. Again, that's another place we went with them. And the host, Haji Bey, was so friendly. He's breaking out the raka. He's feeding us dinner. We're telling stories. He's telling stories. I think we stayed up till like midnight, just having a great time.
Completely with the owner of the hotel, just swapping stories and having the best time.
Yeah.
And I find that something that's really, really special about different accommodation. And that's one of the things I liked about the Jeets is that you get to meet the people. And sometimes, I mean, that's what's going to make your trip.
That makes the trip. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And this place was so well decorated with these old wooden carved bedsteads that are so heavy you couldn't even imagine lifting them. Plus, again, it's got that Turkish bohemian look with all the reds and the
carpets
and the carpets
copper.
and all the copper and stuff, and it's just beautiful. So the manor houses in Turkey are another place to go.
Now, this next one wasn't a destination for the hotel. It was a destination for the area. In Italy, there's a town called Alberobello,
Which is part of Matera.
And Alberobello is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Most of the town is, because of this really unique architecture of the buildings there, which is the Truly architecture, which are like beehive type houses where the stone is built up in a cone above a rounded base. They're very unique.
And you can see them everywhere throughout the countryside in that area.
Yeah. And we wanted to stay in one. So we found this place called the Tipico Resort in Truly. And they have 4 or 5 of these Trullo rooms that you can rent out. They also have a little hotel with
We did this with my
rooms.
sister too.
We did this
We
one
travel with the
Ernestine.
same people over and over again.
We tend to, yeah. Really beautiful setting in a World Heritage Site. And we stayed in one of these Trulies, just really incredibly outfitted inside. You could see the roof from the inside. Really, really cool.
It's a good experience. And the town itself is just really beautiful.
It is.
And we were right next to the cathedral where they were having a
Wedding? Always a good thing.
We're always looking for weddings because I just think it's so fun and pretty.
Now, one of the most memorable things there was we asked the guy at the desk,
hotelier,
where we should eat dinner. And he pointed us.
No, the first thing he said is, "How hungry are you?" And we're like,
"We're hungry.
This sounds good."
We're hungry because we hadn't eaten all day. And he said, "Okay, you have to go to this place and order the..."
He goes, "Don't order anything else except for the..." What do you call that?
The antipasti.
The antipasti, which of course is typically...
Usually it's a tray with maybe some cold
finger
cuts,
food
some
to eat
cheese, some
before dinner.
olives, and that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's something you eat before
It's the
the meal.
appetizer.
He says, but that's not the case here. Order it. You'll come away stuffed. You won't be able to eat everything. And he was right.
And he was right.
We ordered it for 4 of us, for the 3 of us, and they just brought dish after dish.
After dish. We must have tried every antipasti ever made in Alberobello. We were there for at least 3 hours.
Yeah.
And the whole time we're just, it was the time of our life.
Every dish was better than the last.
Yeah, it was so good. 18 euros a piece.
Yeah. A little pricey.
I don't think that's pricey.
By the time we were done. Yeah. So we finished the meal and we wandered through the village, through the town, through these streets where there's these really incredible architecture everywhere you go. Yeah, just beautiful. Really romantic. I think you're right. Maybe one of the most romantic places we stayed, even though we went with your sister. But
well, she didn't stay in the same room with us,
was in a
so it
different
was
room.
fine.
Yeah, it was a great time.
So the next one I'm going to credit to Jim. We were going to Budapest. It was the middle of winter.
Yeah.
It was President's Day weekend, and so we had a 3-day weekend. And we're like, let's go somewhere cold and do something different. So we
Yeah.
went to Budapest midwinter, and we really had a good time. I mean, it was fun. The whole idea of going somewhere midwinter like that, especially in Budapest, is that they have all the waters, and the waters are warm. And so you have that, and then you have these really cool bars. What they call them? Ruin bars?
Ruin bars, yeah.
Yeah, and just really, I mean, it was for fun. So this was kind of a getaway weekend. And so we're looking for a place, and we were hoping that they would be attached somehow to a bath, and Jim found
The Gellert Hotel,
it was so cool.
which is also the Gellert Spa, which is
One of the oldest in the town.
the oldest hotel spa in the town. And the whole building is like Art Deco, built in the early 1900s. Around, I don't even know how many baths they have, but when we say bath, we're talking pools, almost the size of swimming pools.
Indoor
that are just
and outdoor.
ornately decorated, really beautiful, just incredible baths. Hot spring water baths. And if you stay in the hotel, you get a reduced price to get into the baths, but more importantly, you get in an hour before they open to the public. So you have basically the baths to yourself.
And to get there, it was a little spooky. It was freaky because we're in the regular hotel part of the complex, and you have to follow this path, and it's in these little tiny hallways, and it just keeps going, and it's kind of dark, and there's nobody around, and you're just going from here to here, and it seemed to take forever.
Following signs,
and
yeah.
it was just a little bit like, but was it worth it?
Yeah. The baths are incredible.
We were there, like Jim said, we got there, when we could, so an hour before everybody else, and there was only one other couple in the baths.
Yeah.
This entire complex of baths, one other couple, a Muslim couple from somewhere. And the reason we knew they were Muslim is because she was covered from head to foot.
Yeah.
But that's okay. It was interesting, and they were, over on their side, and we were over on our side. I think.
And there's so many different baths that even after it opened to the public, we still had baths, different pools to ourselves.
It was interesting. The first kind of group that started coming in were people who definitely had like a membership, and they were locals,
Right.
and they were there to do laps, and they had
Do
their
laps.
purpose, and they didn't even give us a second glance, and they were going there to exercise. It was a very interesting experience, and probably in my view the best way to do the baths, because it was we had the whole place to ourselves. And if you want to go for photos, oh my gosh, that is the way to do it.
Well, yeah, because you can't take photos once people are in there.
Well, you can, because they're in bathing suits, but it's
You don't
harder,
really want
and there's
pictures
lots
of
of
people.
people, and you're going to get other people in your photos. There was nobody else there. It was wonderful.
So that was a place that wasn't a destination in and of itself. It was a hotel.
But-
I think the only hotel on our list, really. But the unique thing about that was the baths that are part of it. And oh my gosh.
and the access.
And the access to it.
Yeah.
Definitely one of the unique stays that we really enjoyed.
Very memorable. Okay. Well, that brings us to the last one. Another quirky one.
Yeah. And you found this one.
I found this one.
Pretty close to where we're living now on the Rhine River in Rudesheim, which is a beautiful, of course, wine center on the Rhine River. And we stayed in wine barrels at this hotel in the middle of town. And that was a really unique
It
experience.
was kind of hilarious. They have 6 barrels, and what they've done, and they're huge. I forget the exact capacity. I wrote it down. It's probably I'll try and remember to put it in the show
Okay.
notes. But anyway, they're painted, kind of like that gypsy motif on the
Right.
outside, and they're just they're kind of just stuck into the building, and they have a full-on bathroom and everything, so it's not like you have to rough it that much. But the bed itself is
in the
roughing
wine
it,
barrel,
because
and
you're
it's pretty
sleeping
rough.
in the wine barrel, and they're basically 2 slats of wood that are built onto the wine barrel. So it's kind of like camping in that respect.
Yeah.
But it's in the cutest little town with tons of restaurants. We actually ate at the one for the hotel because it looked, has a nice little garden area, and,
Food was great.
food
The wine was
good.
delicious.
Yeah, we knew it was going to be good, and the barrels were cute, and we just had the best time, and it was just I think we also did it kind of in the winter.
Yeah.
Not wintry winter, a little closer to spring, I guess. It was like April or something. So it was still chilly out, but at the same time, there wasn't tons and tons of people in the town yet.
Right.
Although the Rhine is one of those places that...
And Rudesheim is a pretty popular place.
And Rudesheim is pretty popular.
Which we've been to before. And so we weren't really going to Rudesheim on this trip. We were going to stay in, for the whole purpose of staying in these wine barrels. And being in Rudesheim was just like a bonus.
And what we found, if you're interested in doing this, is that it's best to go midweek. Mm-hmm. Of course, it's always best to go off season because there's just so many people that go through here. And but if you go midweek, you'll have a better chance of getting a reservation. Yeah. It's one of those things, though, if you really want to do it, and I think you should, if you've got a little bit of an adventurous spirit. Everybody there, we're doing exactly in all 6 barrels. We were all just beaming. We all had our beers that we were there and our wine, and we were sitting out because they had little chairs outside. Mm-hmm. And everybody was there for the experience of being in a wine barrel. That's why you go. It was
super cool.
Super, super cool. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay. Well, those are our favorites that we've stayed in so far.
So far.
There's a lot more in our future. Like there's this one in the Italian Alps that this one
Jim's
train...
got this pegged. He's been telling me about this for months now.
This one train climbs way up into the mountains, and near its terminus, there is a stone-built train station. And on the top floor, the second floor, there's like 2 or 3 rooms. And you go there, you get off the train, you have to wait till the next day for the train to take you back.
Which is okay with us.
So you're there in the middle of this alpine meadow. There's supposedly is Edelweiss in the garden. I've always wanted to see Edelweiss growing in the Alps. Food's supposed to be spectacular. The train ride itself is an incredible journey through the mountains. So that's one I really want to do.
Yeah. There's a few. There's also Erica and Michael stayed for their anniversary. They stayed in a hotel, Castle Hotel on the Rhine, not too far from here. And theirs was a castle room. And so once we saw the pictures of where they stayed, and they were thrilled to death, we said we want to do that too.
That looks like a good castle.
So that's and it wasn't that expensive, and they have a dinner included if you want to do it, a gourmet dinner. So it's one of those sort of romantic getaways that's we kind of planning that. That's on our list. We've got a few things, so stay tuned. We'll update you on all the good places to go.
All right.
And as for that, ciao for now.
Ciao for now.